Hello everybody. We're going to recap the basic principles of genetics. So what we already know is that Gregor Mendel was the father of genetics. As a monk, one of his duties was to work in the garden. And as a biologist, he observed peas and the different characteristics that peas showed over many generations. So he studied 7 of the different traits. And these traits are the characteristics. And these characteristics are passed from parent to offspring. This is known as heredity. And when we study heredity, we are studying genetics. And let's consider the pea plant. Like any multicellular organism, the pea plant is made up of many cells. Now we're going to look at just the peas. Pea color can either be yellow or green. And this information as to what it will be is contained in the nucleus of a cell. In the nucleus we find the chromosomes. And chromosomes occur in pairs. Now we say that the pairs are homologous because they are carrying the same information. And this information is found in the genes. Our genes occupy the same space in a pair of homologous chromosomes. And this space is known as the locus. So one locus, many loci. Genes come in many forms. So, for example, I've said that genes, this particular gene we were looking at is pea color. Well, pea color can either be green or yellow. So the variations or the variants of the genes are known as alleles. Now some alleles can be dominant. In other words, they're going to be expressed as a particular characteristic. A recessive allele, if it's in the presence of a dominant allele, is going to be masked. So it's going to be hidden. It's not going to be expressed as a feature. So let's consider 3 conditions of alleles. There are only 3 conditions that alleles can happen in. Remember that alleles occur in pairs. So, if we look at the first condition over here, what we have is a homozygous condition for the dominant allele. So the dominant allele is represented by a capital letter. In this case, we're using capital G because the dominant allele is green. The first case here we have big G, so they're the same. And the second case is little g, or small g. So these are the same. And so the genotype, the genetic makeup, is homozygous for the dominant condition and homozygous for the recessive condition. Because the dominant allele is present, the phenotype, the characteristic that is then seen, will be green. In this case, there is no dominant allele masking the recessive allele. So it will be the only situation where your recessive characteristic is actually expressed. So this will be a yellow pea. In the case of heterozygous or mixed breed or hybrid is where you have different alleles. So in this case we have a dominant allele and a recessive allele making up the genotype, so the genetic makeup of the P. Because there is a dominant allele present, it will mask the recessive allele, and so the phenotype, the physical characteristic of the P, will be green. Now, from this, and all the observations that Mendel made, he was able to come about 3 laws. The first law is the law of dominance. This is where a dominant allele is expressed over a recessive allele. The second law, which I nickname as gas, is where Mendel says that alleles have to separate or segregate when gametes are produced. So in each gamete, let's say for example sperm, we will have one of each allele, because the father, for example, can only give one of the alleles to the offspring. The third law is the law of independent assortment, and this is where, because of meiosis, alleles are passed on independent of one another. Have a good day. Stay strong. Bye.